Do you recall the Great Recession? If so, it is likely you don't remember it well. If you had a significant real estate investment or were in a default on your mortgage, you might even be moping over 10 years later. As per the Washington Post, the subprime mortgage meltdown of 2008 had complicated origins that resulted in a third decline in property prices. Thus, it is understandable that Americans today would be uneasy about the housing market, given the rising mortgage rates and well-publicized bank failures. Dave Ramsey to start. Whatever you think of the man, he frequently makes accurate predictions regarding consumer finance, sometimes even frighteningly precise ones. He had some harsh words for Americans who worry that the events of 15 years ago will happen again during a recent episode of The Ramsey Show. We knew exactly what was going to happen, Ramsey claimed. We actually determined what was going on by using data, not feelings. Ramsey referred to a July 14, 2022 live show he hosted, during which he spent an hour outlining the specifics of the housing situation and arguing against a crash along the lines of 2008. What's changed the most between then and now? While borrowing rates are still rising, he claims that the number of available homes is currently dramatically low. This is what that implies. In a recent study, the National Low-Income Housing Coalition discovered that there is a national deficit of 7.3 million rental properties that are both cheap and accessible for tenants with extremely low incomes. This refers to Americans whose income is 30% less than the median and at or below the federal poverty level. Remember, that's only applicable to people who live in abject poverty. In a broader sense, Realtor.com discovered a 6.5 million shortfall of single-family houses overall, which is marginally better than its findings. That's even with a minor price decline in the second half of 2022. As Ramsey noted during the live stream, there were 55 million prime buyers in 2008 as opposed to 66 million prime buyers today. The national housing scarcity as a whole keeps demand for real estate high. Higher property prices will follow as long as supply cannot keep up with demand. Astute homeowners can take advantage of this by moving to a location with more affordable housing options and a greater supply of inventory after selling their house in a hot market. According to Ramsey, fear struck as those two pandemic-related forces came together. Everyone is thinking, oh, this will all pass. Everything will be like this again in 2008. We kept telling ourselves, no, it's not going to blow. Ramsey said on his program not so long ago. I believe we should just end here and say I told you so. Ramsey does believe that the market has calmed down though. In fact, according to statistics from Realtor.com, typical home prices fell to $400,000 by January 2023 from a peak of $449,000 in June 2022. That was roughly a 10% decline, although it was far less than the 33% decline observed during the 2008 housing crisis. Strangely enough, the median home price in July was $440,000, a little less than it was in June when it was $445,000. That represents a 2% drop from June 2022. It is by no means a crash, much less an indication that one is imminent. First-time home purchasers are currently greatly out of reach in the property market. The ordinary American cannot afford over 60% of the homes that are for sale. Why is there such a disparity in price? Baby boomers' refusal to sell their single-family homes, high mortgage rates, and a shortage of available supply. Due to these circumstances, forced renter households will soon become the norm in the housing market, though not for long. At least some hope appears to be on the horizon, according to Windermere real estate chief economist Matthew Gardner. Matthew is aware of the remedy, which is far less complicated than most people realize, to this nearly unbelievable affordability problem. What is the main concern here? It is the question of affordability. Many economists are concerned about affordability, and the national payments to income ratio is at 34.8%, far above the peak level seen in 2006 before the Great Recession of 2010, which had its origin in the housing sector. In 2006, the ratio was 26.9%, and this makes us worried about the current situation. In other words, it now takes $600 or 41% more to make the monthly payment for a 30-year-old mortgage on the average price home after putting 20% down compared with a year ago. So that predicts less buyer demand and crash prices, especially amidst higher interest rates, pushing many prospective buyers to the sidelines. Mortgage companies are laying off employees already, and many economists, including those at Vanguard, predict a recession in 2023 as the housing sector in the country is initiating an economic slowdown. Buyers are postponing their purchases to let the mortgages prices come down. Thus, the demand is low for homes and is simultaneously pushing down the prices. On the other hand, the supply of homes is also low, as many others feel trapped in their current residences because they are left with low mortgage rates. This makes things difficult for both buyers and sellers. Can you see the domino effect creating a chain of crisis affecting the economy of the country? Therefore, a recession is more likely in 2023. Thus, homeowners who want to sell should not lose hope. On the one hand, the days of getting hundreds of unseen offers in a single weekend are long gone. Ramsey argues that in order to sell their properties for a good price, sellers will need to stage, clean, and improve their curb appeal. Ramsey notes that the market spike during the outbreak was an anomaly. It was a brief moment in time when everyone sat around at their home, becoming obese and deciding they wanted to move out. There was a scarcity of lumber, which increased 3 times before declining again, and builders are currently not meeting building codes. They are slowing down and making the shortage worse. After the recent decline, Ramsey and his team had projected that this year's property values would rise by 2% to 3%. However, as they clarified on the broadcast, this is the asking price, not the property value. People aren't purchasing as if they are insane, according to Ramsey. They are reasonable people purchasing homes at reasonable costs. Regarding mortgages, Ramsey observes that it's possible that rates like the 2% or 3% that were common recently will never return. Americans will instead need to lower their expectations to a 6% norm. It was only artificially driven down below 6% because of the government's efforts to re-stimulate the real estate market after 2008, stated Ramsey. All in all, Ramsey and his group suggested that they might revisit their forecast more frequently if only to confirm their suspicions. He declared, "We nailed that completely. After examining the data, we thoroughly examined it. We were flawless." There is a set of policies that the government and the central banks adopt in dire situations like this. During uncertain times like this, the government offers measures to stabilize the economy. To stabilize the housing sector, the government may implement rate adjustments, tax incentives for home buyers, or programs to support distressed homeowners. Central banks can influence borrowing costs through adjustments in interest rates. Lowering interest rates can encourage borrowing and thus drive demand during a market downturn. Also, the government may introduce assistance programs for those who are distressed due to the fall in housing prices. This may include loan modifications, mortgage forbearance, or financial counseling. Do buyers benefit from this crisis? As we say, every cloud has a silver lining. Every challenge can be turned into an opportunity. For potential buyers, a market downturn offers the chance to purchase a home at a low price, potentially increasing affordability. That's all for now. What do you think of the housing crisis in the US? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and for more videos, subscribe to this channel.